The Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg's parliamentary seat is situated in Sheffield's leafy affluent Hallam constituency, which is in the southwest of the city, that whilst being part of a Labour heartland city, in reality could just as easily be transported to any affluent area of the southeast. As for instance, a typical 4-bedroom detached property would tend to start at £400,000 and could easily range up to twice that amount, prices which tend to surprise many relocating from the southeast to Sheffield. If the opinion polls are to be believed, then the Lib Dem leader could lose his Sheffield Hallam seat to Labour, on the back of a string of broken promises such as not to raise tuition fees, which angered many students and their parents, and failure on local issues such as not granting Sheffield Forgemasters an £80 million loan, and not forgetting that the left of centre Lib Dem party propped up a right-wing Tory government for 5 years. The most recent Lord Ashcroft constituency level polling shows that Nick Clegg is trailing behind the Labour candidate Oliver Coppard by 2%. At the last general election, Nick Clegg won the seat on a comfortable majority of over 15,000 with more than 50% of the vote, thus making it inconceivable at the time that the seat could be lost no matter how disastrous subsequent Lib Dem actions were. Furthermore, Sheffield Hallam has never elected a Labour MP. Not once, and for most of the past 100 years the Hallam constituency has voted Conservative, which implies rather than Labour winning the seat, as the opinion polls suggest, it is the Conservatives who are the natural party of power in Sheffield Hallam, which, given the Conservatives' third place standing in the constituency polling, suggests a very low probability, at least this time around, for the Conservatives to win, which therefore implies tactical voting in favour of the Lib Dems is highly likely. Over the past 2 months, the Lib Dems have literally gone to war in terms of intensity of campaigning in the Sheffield Hallam constituency, which includes near weekly doorstepping of asking voters which local issues they most want addressed and who they are likely to vote for, which I'm sure translates into much intelligence gleaned on where individual resident voters stand. Even the Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg has been busy inviting local residents to Q&A meetings. The Lib Dems have been smart in picking up on a number of local issues that could reinforce their vote, such as the crisis in school places in the local area, resulting in issues such as the expansion of Greystone School currently underway, or the proposed expansion of Dobcroft Infant School that the school opposes and where some 500 parents and local residents have petitioned against to the Sheffield City Council and continue to fight ferociously against happening. Of course, if the child of a campaigning anti-Dobcroft expansion parent had been denied a place at their local school, then instead they would be out demonstrating in favour for expansion of places at the school. So the whole anti-expansion campaign reeks as one of pure selfishness for the fundamental fact that Dobcroft School does lack places to meet demand from in-catchment area children. The reality of the crisis in school places at Sheffield schools such as Dobcroft is as a result of 2 primary reasons, one of which is cuts in the school budget by both Lib Dem and Labour councils that has resulted in a shortage of school places. The second reason is one of rampant fraud in school applications, for which there are no real consequences, that results in the epidemic of theft of school places from catchment area children. The problem is that the parents of Sheffield's less affluent areas that target Sheffield's best schools are under the misguided assumption that just by sending their child to a good school will be enough to instantly turn their child into a potential little Einstein, which fails to grasp the fundamental factor that it is not the teachers that determine whether a school is good or bad, but rather that it is the parents, as the teachers are of virtually the same caliber across all schools. So in reality, ordinary schools can only become good schools because the parents of children go out of their way to educate their children far beyond the capabilities of the teachers at the school. Therefore, it is the affluent, middle class, pushy parents through extracurricular activities and actively pushing the school to do better through a myriad of suggested and parental funded activities that turns ordinary state schools into good state schools, and conversely populating a good state school with children of parents who don't do the same via fraudulent school place applications is just going to eventually result in that good school becoming just another bottom ranking state school, as has happened several times in the past, such as the case of Abbeydale Grange, that went from being one of Sheffield's best schools to its worst, eventually closing because no one wanted to send their children to it anymore, all as a consequence of opening the school up to outside catchment area admissions. In terms of the election, Lib Dem support for anti-school expansion campaigns plays into local voter fears that their good state schools will ultimately also become bottom-ranking, failing schools, leaving the affluent parents with the only option to opt out of state education altogether by sending their children to local private schools.
This is what it's like living in Sheffield Hallam during the election campaign 2015. That's what you get stuffed through letterboxes. Let's tally up the leaflets, see who's winning what. Sheffield Hallam. That's clearly Lib Dems. Nick Clegg. One to Cleggy. Another one to Cleggy. There's two. Another one, clearly Nick Clegg. Only Lib Dems will give the NHS the money it needs. 3, another one, 4.
This one's Lib Dem, yeah, 5. So Labour, we got Labour. A few of Lib Dem broken promises. Labour broken promises. So that's 1 to Labour and 5 to Lib Dem. Which way will Nick Clegg turn after the election? Oh. This is a bit strange. Look at this one. Pretty conservative. Labour. Oh, here it is. On behalf of Oliver Coppard. That's Conservative. But the first Conservative, Ian Walker, who's he for? Conservative. Nick Clegg. I found him there, Nick Clegg, no, basically Nick Clegg. Another one, Lib Dems. Is wanting to own your home, any unreasonable dream. What's this one? Nick Clegg. Labour. Yeah, this is Labour. I don't know who she is though, she's not standing. It's Labour 2. Who's this? Yeah, Nick Clegg, Lib Dems. Clearly, Lib Dems. Everyone Lib Dems clear. Parker, Tesco plans turned down. Tesco is going bust. No, that's not why it's not going ahead. Because Tesco's going bust. Nothing to do with Lib Dems. No, not at the news. That is Labour. Another candidate. Oliver Coppard. It's Labour. Wait a minute. Which one is this one? Oliver Coppard. So this is Labour then. Put it on the wrong pile. Nick Clegg, Lib Dems. John Hartman, former Conservative candidate for Sheffield Hallam. What's this? It's a strange letter. Dear friends, I've been a lifelong Conservative and a candidate for Sheffield Hallam. This time I'm voting for Nick Clegg. A former Conservative candidate for Sheffield Hallam voting for Nick Clegg. Must be fine, must be printed by Lib Dems. Published and promoted on behalf of Nick Clegg. That's Lib Dems. Ah, that's a fancy classy magazine. By Nick Clegg, for Lib Dems. Nick Clegg. Another one. Nick Clegg, Nick Clegg, Nick Clegg, Nick Clegg, the local champion for our NHS. Nick Clegg. Oh, here's another local issue. Ashcroft School. Expansion plans put on hold. Yeah, well, the problem with that is that there's a shortage of places at Ashcroft School. So that means catchment area children cannot get in. So what it is, instead of increasing the places there so everyone in the catchment gets an equal chance, right to get a place at their local school, the parents already have their children in and teachers are complaining to not expand the school because of course they've got their children in, so to hell with the rest who haven't. Selfish. I cannot say the word, but you know what I mean. That's an example of selfishness. Aha! We have a pimple-faced UKIP candidate leaflet. The first one, I'll put it there on the far right. Oh, that's my left. Who's this Conservative? Ian Walker, looks like an accountant. That's good for money, good for business people. What's this? Anything mutual? No, that's not a leaflet. Another Nick Clegg, doing the walk, country walk. Yep. Nick Clegg. Oh, there's another one of those. Who can beat Labour? It must be Nick Clegg. Okay, who's this one by? It is by Lib Dems. Nick Clegg. Questions and answers in Ecclesall. Yeah, first time he's had one in 5 years. No, the last one, Nick Clegg. So,
one UKIP. 1, 2, 3, 4 Labour. Yeah, and 2 Conservative. And then we come to the Lib Dems. I can count these out because I lost count. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26,
27, 28. And there you have it. The Lib Dems are blitzkrieging Sheffield Hallam. Now, this is only one example. The doorstepping every week, up and down they're walking. Could we have your vote? Could we allow you vote? Who would you vote for? Would you vote for Nick Clegg? Oh, Labour, no, don't vote Labour. Conservatives, very bad. But you're in coalition with the Conservatives. Yes, we know, but not next time. They're definitely going on a complete all-out blitzkrieg, total war to win this constituency of Sheffield Hallam, as you can see by just one example, the leaflets.
Therefore, despite all of the negatives stacked up against the Lib Dems, such as the betrayal of students and their parents, against this, in the first instance, the Sheffield Hallam election is not one of between the Lib Dems and Labour. Instead, it is one of Nick Clegg, who is instantly recognisable by over 90% of the electorate, against Oliver Coppard, who will be lucky to achieve 10% recognition. Therefore, in line with my long-standing forecast that on May the 7th, voters, when presented with the ballot paper, will in surprisingly large numbers vote for Nick Clegg, resulting in a decisive majority of at least 5,000 votes. That is contrary to the current consensus and opinion polls that suggest a Labour victory in Sheffield Hallam is likely. In terms of the national election, then the key consideration where the Lib Dems' performance is concerned will be the threat of a Labour SNP catastrophe that will again result in a far higher tally of Lib Dem seats than the opinion polls are currently suggesting. The opinion polls have swung in Labour's favour as voters were clearly put off by the personal attacks against the Labour leader. There remains a strong probability for a hung parliament, which makes the manifestos redundant, not just because politicians lie and make promises that they just cannot keep, with a long list of excuses ready as to why they could not fulfill their promises, but that post-election parties will negotiate their actual programme for government as part of coalition agreements. So today's Labour and Conservative manifestos are approximately 50% fantasy election bribes that will never become manifest. The opinion polls currently forecast seat averages for the Conservatives on 274.5 and Labour on 276.5. The calculations for what form a coalition government could take become extremely complicated, if not impossible, without resorting to the truly messy and disastrous outcome that involves the Scottish nationalists as the only viable outcome. May 2015 keeps flip-flopping between Labour and the Conservatives in the lead at no greater distance than 10 seats from 275. Electoral calculus have consistently exhibited a strong bias towards Labour, which has been slowly eroding over time, that suggests will converge with other forecasters over the next few weeks. Election forecast tends to consistently put the Conservatives in a clear seats lead, so tends to most closely reflect my own long-standing forecast. And lastly, The Guardian, after maintaining a continuous marginal advantage to the Conservatives over Labour, has now swung in Labour's favour, though exhibiting no clear trend direction. Overall, the opinion posters are currently trending in favour of the Labour Party, which, if the trend continues, implies that Labour will be the largest party on election day on about 290 seats. That is contrary to my forecast expectations for the Tories to lead with at least 296 seats. Another point of difference is that pollsters continue to grossly overestimate the number of seats the SNP will win, i.e. typically 48 to 54 against my expectations of just 35. So in my judgment, the opinion polls remain wrong, as they continue to persistently underestimate the number of seats the Conservatives will actually win by a widening margin, who in my opinion could still even win an outright majority on May the 7th. In terms of what I actually see as the most probable outcome for the general election, I refer to my in-depth analysis and concluding forecast of 28th of February. The remaining balance of 558 seats, split according to the consensus view such as May2015.com, would result in Labour leading on 281 seats against Conservatives on about 277. However, this analysis suggests that the opinion polls are grossly underestimating the number of seats the Conservatives will actually win on May 7th, where there is even a chance for the Conservatives to win an outright majority, though probability favours another hung parliament. However, given the UKIP surge, it will be tough for the Conservatives to retain their current tally of 302 MPs, as I expect at least 3 will be lost to UKIP and many more lost to Labour, against which at least a handful will likely be gained from the Lib Dems, which therefore suggests that the Tories will achieve a seat total in the 290s. My forecast conclusion is for the Conservatives to win 296 seats at the May 7th general election and Labour second on 262 seats, and the full seats per political party breakdown as shown. Therefore, the most probable outcome is for a continuation of the condemned coalition government on 326 seats, i.e. Conservative 296 plus Lib Dem 30, where any shortfall would likely find support from the DUP's 8 seats. The alternative is for a truly messy Labour, Liberal, SNP supported chaotic government on about 327 seats, which in my opinion would be a truly disastrous outcome for Britain, nearly as bad as if Scotland had voted for independence last September. Another possibility is that should the Conservatives do better than forecast, i.e. secure over 300 seats, but still fail to win an overall majority, then they may choose to go it alone with the plan to work towards winning a May 2016 general election. The bottom line is that the opinion polls do not reflect how people will actually vote on May 7th, when they are faced with the stark choice of a steady as she goes condemned government or take a huge gamble on Ed Miliband's Labour Party. So in my opinion, several million of voters will choose to play it safe with the condemned government, which thus is the most probable outcome.